Hello and welcome to this screencast on gaseous exchange. So, what we need to be looking at today is gaseous exchange and how gases exchange between the alveoli and the bloodstream. So this is a typical exam question, okay, that you may get in an exam. So figure 2.1 shows an alveoli and a capillary. Alveoli is Y, capillary is X. State one way in which the structure of the alveoli is adapted for its role in gaseous exchange. One cell thick, okay? So nice and simply, it's one cell thick, which means that gases can pass through the alveoli and the capillary really easily, because we know as well that capillary is one cell thick as well. So both of them are really thin, so that gases can exchange. Describe how gases are exchanged between Y and X as blood flows in the capillary. Use figure 2.1 to help you answer the question. This is what we're going to go through with regards to the screencast and lesson. This was 1 mark, this question here 3 marks. I've seen another gaseous exchange question that is 6 marks. So this is what we are going to be tackling today in terms of answering that type of question. Again, we've gone through this before. This is a structure of the respiratory system. We've got the trachea. Remember, we figured out we had to know about the epiglottis, which is up here as well, and we've got the larynx, which is the voice box. So trachea splits up into 2 bronchi. They go into the left and right lung. Bronchi turn into bronchioles, which are these branches. And at the end of the bronchioles, and what's really important for today's screencast and the lesson that we're going to be having, are the alveoli, which are these tiny air-filled sacs. So when we breathe in, the atmosphere from outside, so the air ends up in the alveoli, and around the alveoli we've got capillaries. So what happens is gases move from the alveoli, well, oxygen moves from the alveoli into the bloodstream, then carbon dioxide goes from the bloodstream into the alveoli, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. So we're going to go through the process of actually how we do that. So external respiration, this is just gaseous exchange between the alveoli and the blood. Means so where it takes place, alveoli and blood. What are the gases involved and where do they move? Oxygen and carbon dioxide are the gases involved. Oxygen moves from the air into our bloodstream. Carbon dioxide goes from our bloodstream and we breathe it out. Why does oxygen diffuse? We're going to be talking about that. And why does carbon dioxide diffuse? And we're going to be talking about that as well. So what I want you to kind of get down for me, please, just write this down. Which 2 gases exchange? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Which site does gaseous exchange take place at? The alveoli with the blood. What is partial pressure? Now this is important. So partial pressure is the pressure a gas exerts within a mixture of gases. So the air that we breathe in doesn't just contain oxygen, okay? It's got oxygen, nitrogen, so on. It's got loads of different gases. So how much of the air is made up of nitrogen, oxygen, and so on determines the pressure of the gas within all those gases within the air. So partial pressure is the pressure a gas exerts within a mixture of gases. And then diffusion, special rule, which is absolutely pivotal for the lesson is gases move from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. Okay, and I'll go on about that in more detail over the lesson and give you some examples. Okay, so gases exchange between the alveoli and the blood at rest. We always do one gas at a time, so we focus on one gas because the question may ask you about oxygen, the question may ask you about carbon dioxide, or it may ask you just about gaseous exchange. If it does, you have to talk about both oxygen and carbon dioxide. So this is how we're going to set up our notes. Gas, oxygen, area, special rule, partial pressure, diffusion gradient, and diffusion. So what we need to have down is the following. Gas, we're talking about oxygen. Area, it's the alveoli and the blood, or alveoli with the blood. The special rule of diffusion is gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. So we need to talk about the partial pressure now. We are talking about the alveoli and the blood, and we're talking about oxygen. We have just breathed in the air, so now the partial pressure of oxygen is high in the alveoli because we've just breathed in loads of air, so we've got loads of oxygen in the alveoli, and it's low in the blood. Now oxygen is low in the blood because it's been used up from our muscle, so you've got to think the muscle has taken the oxygen, and now we have got deoxygenated blood going back to the heart and then to the lungs. So the blood coming back to the lungs, or the blood now, the capillaries that are wrapped around the alveoli, it's got no oxygen in. It's got carbon dioxide in. So oxygen is high in the alveoli, it's low in the blood. We're talking about oxygen now, so all we need to know is this causes an oxygen diffusion gradient. This means that oxygen diffuses from the alveoli, because that's where the pressure's high, to the blood, where the pressure is low. Remember, if you look at the special rule, gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. So that's what we need to know with regards to oxygen, and then we're going to do the same for carbon dioxide. So gas, carbon dioxide, area, alveoli in the blood still. Special rule, gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. So now we're talking about carbon dioxide. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide is high in the blood and it's low in the alveoli. You've got to think we've just breathed in loads of oxygen. So the pressure of carbon dioxide, or the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveoli is really low because it's full of oxygen. There's no carbon dioxide in the alveoli, it's in the blood. The diffusion gradient, this is called a carbon dioxide diffusion gradient. This means that carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood to the alveoli and we breathe it out. So what this is saying here, this table, is partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli is 105, in the blood it's 40. Gases move from an area of high concentration to low concentration. Therefore, oxygen diffuses from the alveoli to the blood. Carbon dioxide, or the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveoli is 40. In the blood it's 46. Gases move from an area of high partial pressure, so it's got to be this one, to low partial pressure. Carbon dioxide must diffuse from the blood to the alveoli. Please make your notes on that, and I'll see you in lesson, and we'll go through some more detail. We'll practice it, we'll question each other, and we'll do some exam questions. See you when I see you. Thank you. Bye.